the tarot, you start with the major arcana. It's probably the best way to begin, and you just take 1 through 21, or 0 through 21, making up the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and you watch as the progression goes along, as you go from the Fool to the Magician to the High Priestess to the Empress to the Emperor, and on. And if you want to get a little deeper insight on how I felt this all related to my life, check out my show, The Chronicles of Freeman. You'll find that on freemantv.com, and I show you how my life has kind of followed these tarot cards through and up to right now the Hierophant, which I seem to be at this point as my teacher to you. Next is Lover, so I'm truly excited about that. But each of the letters within in the Hebrew not only have a title such as Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, Ha, Wa, and on through the letters, they also have a meaning. And so as you look at the letter A, it actually means ox. Or you look at the letter B, it means house. Or the letter G, camel. And this is where I got my understanding for the Camel cigarette pack. So when you look at a Camel cigarette pack, you'll see that the Great Pyramid is missing. You only have 2 of the pyramids in the picture. And standing in between where the Great Pyramid is a camel. Now camel in Hebrew means G. And so therefore we're looking at a large G, which of course is emblazoned on every Masonic temple. Sometimes it's replaced by the Hebrew letter Yod, which actually means hand. Now when we look at the concept of G, then what you have to do is take the tarot cards, the major arcana, these 22 cards, and place them into the Tree of Life. So the Tree of Life has 10 Sephirah, and you can go look it up on the internet, and you'll see that there is this pattern there. And you can take this tree, and in between each of the Sephirah, or dots on the Tree of Life, is a line, and each line is representing a tarot. And when you look at the line for G, or Gimel, it is the path that goes straight up the center, from earth to heaven, or from Malkuth to Kether. And it is on that path that one will travel through the abyss, known as Daleth. This is where Aleister Crowley was known to have gotten lost. The camel is supposed to take you safely across this path, but you must have a proper mind to do so, and much study to understand what you're doing, or you will get lost. So this is not something that people should take lightly, and also there's technologies that have been incorporated in this whole study that have been lost. They are coming back, however. Many of the high technologies from our ancient past are now coming straight forward to us today. I don't know whether Rex Church of the Church of Satan, whether or not his Ragnarok device is actually going to open a portal to the other side. But it's highly possible that CERN will. Let's jump to a little bit of CERN news, since CERN will be launching this month as well. Hey, you will find all of these articles placed in the Space War News there on Freeman's blog, the freemanperspective.blogspot.com. I highly recommend keeping up with those because I find them very intriguing, and I do update them almost daily. So the latest in CERN concerns is the God Machine critics to the UN. Experiment an affront to human rights. With the CERN Particle Physics Lab due to start shooting particles around its Large Hadron Collider, which of course are named Alice and Atlas. Now let's just realize, I've gone over this a bit, that Alice through the looking glass is part of this mind control campaign, but we're also looking at this idea of going into the other dimension. And then Atlas, of course, was the king of Atlantis. And I have some curious stories about Atlantis coming up as well. So the Large Hadron Collider is again launching this month. We call it Red Button Day. And the first particle collisions are expected in December. So the anti-Large Hadron Collider campaigners are on the warpath again. A new group calling itself the Committee on CERN Experimental Dangers, or Concerned, will submit a complaint on the 3rd of November. Is that today? Yes. To the Human Rights Committee of the UN, calling for the work at the LHC to be stopped because it threatens life on Earth and so violates the complainant's human rights. Some physicists have suggested that the extreme high energy of the collisions that will take place at the LHC could create postulated entities including mini black holes and strangelets, which seem to replicate themselves over and over again until utter destruction. Critics say that the tiny black holes could swallow up the Earth, or that strangelets could convert all matter into strange matter. But leading physicists who have studied the matter say that well-established principles all but guarantee that neither catastrophe would occur. But of course they really have no idea. It was the same when they launched HARP. It was the same when they exploded a neutron bomb in the atmosphere. They don't know. They really don't know what's going to happen when it goes on. And why do I remember the events of HARP so well? Well, I was awake and aware during that time and watching it all happen. I watched as all the states lost power when they turned that damn thing on. I watched as the whole half or portion of the apparatus melted because they had gone too far. Now, the CERN scientists are saying they were going to launch this at safety power generation, which made me wonder as I was reading that article, and you'll find that there, what will they do when they're not using safety? We'll get more to that. All right, so the main argument in these reviews has been that collisions of similar energies happen daily in the upper atmosphere as cosmic rays slam into atoms in the air, and so far Earth has survived. So concerned and similar groups argue that since such review committees are convened by CERN and staffed with particle physicists who have devoted their careers to the results of the LHC experiments, there is a conflict of interest. They are calling for a halt to CERN's work. Now, some may believe and have actually announced that CERN would be stopped from the future. Yes, Danish physicist Dr. Holger Beck-Nielsen and Dr. Ninomiya from Japan claim nature is trying to prevent the LHC from finding the elusive Higgs boson, called the God particle. The theoretical boson could explain the origins of mass in the universe, if physicists can find the darn thing, they say. So one could even say that we have a model for God, said Dr. Nielsen. He rather hates Higgs particles and attempts to avoid them. While it is a paradox to go back in time and kill your grandfather, physicists agree there is no paradox if you go back in time and save him from being hit by a bus. In the case of the Higgs and the collider, it is as if something is going back in time to keep the universe from being hit by a bus. It must be our prediction that all Higgs-producing machines shall have bad luck, Dr. Nielsen told the New York Times. So when they are saying that they have this multi-billion-dollar machine that has been taking 20 years to create, and that it's featured in Daniel Brown's Angels and Demons book, and might possibly cause black holes or punch holes into the other dimension, or at least give them the understanding necessary to find out why there is mass in the universe. One of these situations may occur unless time steps in and shuts it down from the future. This will be a very curious thing to watch. I am highly intrigued and somewhat concerned about CERN. Of course, their corporate logo being 666 with the hyperdimensional portal. And if I look at this spectrum as I have been, then when I look to all of this influence, I absolutely see the destruction of matter with the atomic bomb, the recreation of matter with the use of creating matter out of photons, light into mass, light into matter, and now trying to figure out how to get the mass back into it, because the photon experiment was nearly massless. I see a transportation teleportation device attempting to be created. Now you couple with this the mind-preserving technology that is coming out of MIT and realize that they are saying that they can transmit your soul via radio frequency waves. Then you can also tap into HARP, being that it is just one of the largest radio frequency antennas in the world. What's going on here? So that is the beginning of our strangeness in whether or not we'll be able to adapt when we start to understand the paradigm that we actually exist in. we want to go about and say that we know what's going on in the world and that everything's just straightforward, and Freeman, not everything's a conspiracy. But yet I continually find them, and I continue to see this puzzle as it unfolds before it unfolds. And what I try to do is attempt to tell you about these situations so that you know that this was already there long before they announced it to you. So as I was speaking about Obama and the coupling of the DoD with NASA and using asteroids, and next thing